Coming up on Theatre Talk.
You've got a captive audience. You can actually take them somewhere. You can say things. You can switch people's minds. Or you can just kind of take some wallpaper paste and say, and now get out of here.
Theatre Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation.
All right, what were we talking about?
The first sentence.
Oh, Jesus Christ. When truth is acknowledged universally, it is also universally disdained. I mean, what the
That's not the whole sentence.
Yeah, I see that. I see the semicolon. I realize that means there's only a partial stop and more is coming, but I'm not sure I want to continue, okay?
From New York City, this is Theatre Talk. I'm the producer, Susan Haskins.
And I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post.
So, Michael, I love the play seminar, and I am so glad we're going to talk about it today.
It's written by one of our favorite playwrights, Theresa Rebeck, who seems to be on Broadway every season that comes along. Her play is about a writing class taught by a, shall we say, sadistic writing teacher who worms his way into the lives of these people and manipulates them for his own ends. Theresa Rebeck, is that a fair description of your play seminar?
It is not, in any way.
All right, we'll get back to that moment, but let us introduce our guest.
I think there's a little projection going on in that.
Perhaps. Theresa Rebeck has written the play. Welcome back to Theatre Talk. Good to see you again.
It's nice to be here.
Alan Rickman plays the sadistic writing teacher. Welcome.
Or not.
Or not.
Or not, exactly.
I think if I just sit here and mug a lot.
Lily Rabe plays one of the students that he brings into his web. Welcome to Theatre Talk. And Hamish Linklater, who plays another one of the students whose life is upended by the antics of this horrible man. All right, Theresa.
Or not.
Or not.
You seem to disagree with my casting of your play.
No, I cast the play. But I think Leonard is a very complex, tragic figure. And
Alan's character.
yes. So I
So
would
he's not the sadist that I have made him out
I
to.
think that there are questions about truth and cruelty that get raised by the way he teaches, and I don't come down. You know, for me, I think the play asks questions about teaching and mentoring, and the nature of truth, and the difficulty of grabbing at the center of what it means to be an artist, and that Leonard is a powerful figure in forcing this particular group of students to take those things into account.
You play Leonard. Is Leonard manipulating these students just for sport? Just for fun?
I don't recognize him from any of the words you use. I'm living inside him, I guess, and and halfway through the run, really inside, or as inside as I'm probably ever going to get. No, I don't think he's a sadist at all. I think he's far too vulnerable to be accused of that, and also, ultimately, as Lily's character, she kind of ticks all the boxes of what he's done, and it's pretty much all productive and coming from a truth teller.
Mm. Lily, you're one of the students in the seminar. Are you intimidated by Leonard when he first arrives on the scene to teach you all how to be better writers?
I think Kate is certainly intimidated, and also because she's the host of the seminar. It's at her apartment, and I think she is desperate for things to go well, and very eager, and but very optimistic, and then things change quickly.
No, we don't want to give it away. Yeah. And Hamish, you're kind of the center of the play in some ways.
I like to
because
think so.
You don't have the advantages that the others have. You're the struggling writer. You are the poor writer, and the one with a good deal of talent. How do you feel about Leonard?
Well,
Your teacher.
I think I come in with a whole bag of chips on my shoulder, and he's you know, he's the one who opens me up. He beats me down and opens me up and makes me show myself to the world, which I think is, you know, sometimes can be a challenging thing for someone to do, to say, help me out.
That's an interesting point that you make, and I wonder if we can broaden this out, because this notion of teachers, when you say you have to be beaten down to be opened up, I assume you've all had acting teachers, acting coaches, writing coaches over the years. Is this what has
And
to...
Hamish's mother is a very famous teacher.
Yeah, does she beat him down
yeah.
before she can open him up?
Yes. Well, she used to. She softened a lot. But yeah, she used to be really, 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 really tough.
And was known for that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But that's why you did it. That's how you did it in the 70s. It was fun back then, you know.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, now you'd be sued if you beat
It's
him.
not nearly as
But what
litigious.
about this notion, though, Theresa, of you've had writing teachers, I'm sure, before over the years, and you teach writing yourself. Do you have to humiliate them to get them to do what they should be
You
doing?
know, I've learned a lot from this play, from watching it over and over again, and there are things that it taught me the last few times around, or even working near the end, working on the last scene, that when Alan unearthed, well, I mean, it was in the writing where he says this thing about being turned into a servant, and it's so powerful to feel what a humiliation that is for someone as mighty as this guy. And I finally thought, I think that teaching and learning demands humiliation from both sides, you know, that the student doesn't want to be told that they're not perfect, you know, or that there's so much anxiety around what is my gift, what, you know, that you have to humiliate yourself to receive information, but that the teacher also has to humiliate himself or herself and open up, this is what I have to give you. And the fear of having that, I mean, I find it a very fraught process. It's, you know, or at least that's what I learned from the play.
Any thoughts, you know, with any acting teachers, acting experiences that you've had over the years? I mean, you know, one hears the tales of famous directors like Jerome Robbins, who, you know, just would humiliate and beat the kids in his shows to get the performance that he wants. It is a manipulative art form.
I've never been, well, actually, I have to correct myself there. Not exactly humiliated, but by a teacher or a director. But you know, it's a profession which showing off can be rewarded. Possibly. There may be examples of that we could think of, and there's an alternative to that. But you know, we were just talking before about, you know, there are actors who can't wait to get out there. And there are actors who can't wait to get back in the dressing room. It's hard out there.
Well, you corrected yourself because I've never been humiliated. Then you paused, well, I couldn't say that. Was there one particular director who...
Well, there have been examples of that, yeah, but
Can you...
in hindsight, they were always to a purpose. And I suppose I can best example it. There was a very great teacher of mine at drama school called Elizabeth Percy, who was actually a diction teacher and voice teacher. And I watched her give a masterclass recently. She's in her 80s now, and all these young hopefuls about to go up and do a presentation for her one after another. I think they were doing some Dylan Thomas. And just as the first one was about to go up and do their carefully rehearsed piece of work, she said, "Oh, just remember, it's not about you." It's a huge thing to say to somebody, but to even get that, you mean it's not about me? I'm at this drama school and I've just worked so hard on this piece. It's a big concept to say, I will hand myself over to this person I'm playing via the writer so that something then travels to an audience. It's a weird piece of chemistry. And so you need truth tellers.
Your experience in this area, Lily, have you, in your classes over the years, mentors, teachers who have...
Oh, well, they've all made me cry, sure. Over and over, but I'm an easy cry. The strongest example for me was actually with my ballet teachers.
What happened?
I had one in particular who, he just really had it out for me. It felt very personal, and he was always on me and after me and cruel to me and would single me out. And but it was really because he knew I wasn't dancing as well as I could, and there was this time when he sort of dismissed everyone from the class and made me stay and locked the door and made me jump because he knew that I could jump much higher than I was jumping.
So then he cared the most about you, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, the boys were supposed to jump so high.
Did he need to lock the door?
But it's better for the story.
And,
You
as long as
know,
he's not still working there.
I'm sure he is. I hope he is. He was a magnificent teacher, and actually, I think of him all the time with my acting. I don't dance anymore, clearly, and but it was that thing of you're better than I see you. I see you, and you're not. And so,
Hamish, you had this with your mother all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up at this theater company called Shakespeare and Company, where they also trained actors. So I was around a lot of teaching, and I saw a lot of those techniques, and they were rougher when I was a little kid, and everyone was crying all the time, and it was just like a snot and Kleenex childhood. But so I always kind of felt I haven't really, you know, I don't respond to that very well. I've seen I grew up around all those techniques, and I don't. So this was actually a really interesting play for me to go into this and to be this guy who actually can't handle teachers because I don't really buy them that much. But just to piggyback on what Theresa said about humiliation, I think it also actually takes a great deal of humility from both sides. Yeah. To actually have a constructive conversation that's going to be useful for whatever the project is. Both sides need to, you know, take from the performer, take from the teacher, you know, for that.
Yes, you really have to lay down your swords, and it's hard to do that, you know, but it's beautiful watching them do that.
Now, is Lily playing a version of you? I really found myself wondering that throughout the play.
Everybody is playing a version of me.
I know. We should
That
say
old
that
cop out.
That'll cop out.
Around Smash, the NBC series that Theresa has created, I believe I read in New York Magazine, behind your back they call you the Queen. So Leonard is obviously a version of you too, right? The powerful
I would
force.
think so.
Absolutely.
The other thing you say in the play is you say writers are not human. Or are people. Writers are not people. And I have to say, I sort of understood that, but is that
You know, I
speaking?
will say this. This just happened to me,
Yeah.
Mike, because in the television show, there's a couple of sequences where one of the characters, Jeb Messing's character, has a 16-year-old son who gets arrested for smoking pot in Central Park and then has to go through all this stuff. And I was walking down the street with my son, and I was talking about the scene where they go to court, and he looked at me and he went, "Mom, you didn't." Because, of course, I did. You know, I just took it all from my life. And
now you're talking about it on television.
Yeah, right. He looked
Just
at me,
in
and
case.
I actually went, "I told you that." And he was like, "No, you didn't." And I said, and then I went, "No one will know." And he said, "Mom." And so in that sense, I do think that writers aren't people, that you inhabit some odd place where anything is okay. And I mean, not in personal behavior, but like in the writing.
All right, speaking of humiliation, the New York Times, Theresa, came out...
I actually do not ever feel humiliated
All
by
right. The New York Times came out swinging at you for your play. This is an article by...
Is the whole paper or just one?
Claudia
just wait.
LaRocca.
This is...
We need to know who that person is.
We will. The article is called Sexism on Stage with a Twist. It's by Claudia LaRocca. And she goes through all the plays that have been written by women that are this season on Broadway, and she attacks you. Here's what she says. The message of your play seems to be the women students, are around for sex, but intellectual love affairs occur between the serious artists. In the words of Seminar, they are men. How do you respond to that?
I have trouble with people projecting agendas onto art, and I don't feel that that's a legitimate way to discuss a play.
Lily, you play one of the students that she talks about. The
Having
students who
sex.
are having sex with the, involved with the teacher in some way. How do you respond to that? Do you think this play is the boys are the ones who are the intellects and the girls are just there as pawns for the men?
would I be doing the play if that's
I would be startled to hear anyone claim that male writing teachers don't ever sleep with their students. And I would also be startled to hear that female students never take advantage of that. And I certainly don't believe that describing the world as it is something that a writer should not participate in. You know, so I like, what is she counseling, that we should be lying about how these situations evolve? I don't think that that's good counsel to an artist.
I think it also depends on how you listen to a play. I mean, one of the truths or facts of this experience is that when we all come down from the dressing rooms at the beginning of the play, we're there for an hour and 40 minutes. Because if you're not on, you're changing clothes backstage. So I hear the play that I'm not in, every night. And it seems to me that Kate is one of the great teachers in the story. So I think if you're listening with an agenda, then that's what you'll hear.
You could argue, though, to take issue with this charge by Claudia LaRocca, that it's the women in the play who are manipulating the men. I mean, I think your character, and I think the other actress whose name I've forgotten,
Etienne.
I think they know what they want from him.
Everyone in the play is searching for something and coming at the question of, what is it I want out of being an artist? And that's partly what Leonard does, is say, is that what you want out of being an artist? And do you want to shake that up? Do you want to push further? Or is this the limit of your ambition?
You're also reflecting in this play, Theresa, about not only becoming an artist, but on getting published and the nature of success. You know, how success affects a writer and how the lack of success affects writers. For instance, your character is very concerned with that.
My character at the beginning of the play feels like, of course, all the phonies and whatnot, those are the people who get published and get ahead. And so that's, you know, since the deck is stacked against you, what's the point of even sitting down at the table? And that's what his life has been up until that point.
I will say, you know, because I've known many characters like, I mean, and I love when Alan talks about standing inside him, because I had to stand inside him for a long time. It's
Standing inside Leonard.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy place to be. And he actually, and when we went through rehearsing the play, Alan actually is, I'm sure, one of the people who thinks I hear too many words, which is what he tells Martin at the end. And I do hear too many words, but man, Leonard just wouldn't shut up. He, like, you could really get him to, he was so interesting to stand inside and listen to him talk. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about those guys. And because sometimes what became interesting to me is sometimes they seem so enormously narcissistic and like they don't see anything. And then at crucial moments, like what comes out is so insightful, like, and so like like a laser beam. And I'm so curious about that because they seem to be, you know, I'm thinking of one person in particular who always, I'm not going to tell you, who always seems to be like that kind of the size of the ego, where you're a person whose ego is so big that they live in a very little world because their psychological world is so big that you feel like they don't see anything beyond it. And then you realize they've seen so much, but it doesn't, I don't know, I found that Leonard's gift is to, like, every single one of them, he knew how to go, that's it.
But, and you experience this as though you're inside it and it's happening as you write. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. And did you write it for?
I did not.
No.
You're done.
I thought I had. It's so perfect for you.
What do you mean by that?
I want to pick up on something.
Well, I
that
don't
you
know
said.
you.
We only have a couple of minutes left, but I want to pick out something that you said earlier. This notion of actors, we're turning the tables on you now, actors who can't wait to be on stage and actors who can't wait to get off stage. You said you're the one who can't wait to get off stage. Why? Why is that? Don't you enjoy it?
People say that, oh, you must enjoy playing this part. I've accused Theresa, I don't know about generally speaking, but about enjoying being on stage or not. I just find it more and more difficult. The job becomes more and more difficult, and it's more and more of a kind of climbing uphill thing rather than sailing downhill.
Is that because of energy level, or is that just because you're more
No,
mature
you're just
human
more
being?
aware of that, I hope. you just become more aware of how impossible the job is. But
Do you feel that way about doing the movies?
no, because, you know, if you up, you can
Go
do it
again.
again.
But could this be, though? I mean, you're a stage actor. You're one of the great stage actors. You began on the stage. Is this a function of the success that you had? The more movies you do, the easier it becomes just to
it's
do
all
that
about
rather than climb
theatre.
the mountain in the theater?
It's just about theatre. Theatre's like a religion anyway.
Yeah.
And you just become more aware of the commitment of what we were saying earlier about what it is to be on a stage. You've got a captive audience. You can actually take them somewhere. You can say things. You can switch people's minds. Or you can just kind of take some wallpaper paste and say, now get out of here, or a room spray or something. So I'm just aware of it getting tougher.
To do it well.
To do it properly. And also, I thought that we were doing this play that would be kind of like an enjoyable breeze. And I've already said to Theresa, how dare you write what is, I've now learnt, an 18th century comedy. With all of those difficulties of language. You know, it seems like naturalism, it seems like normal conversation, but it's incredibly intricate. It requires enormous concentration, breath control, all of those things that take you out of yourself, because you can see Mount Everest coming up in a minute, and you've got to stay present and keep listening and keep it new.
And get to the top. Are you the actors who can't wait to get on stage or get off stage?
Oh, come on, they all
have
have
to
the
answer
time of their
that.
lives out there.
Well, I mean, Alan was very honest
I
about
love working with these
He was very
two
honest
and the other two because they remind me of what it is to be completely in the moment. And that's an unbelievable luxury.
You were both raised in this religion of theater. And here you both are. Was there ever any doubt?
Yeah, well, I had doubts.
You had doubts,
Still
but
have them. That's from a
but
play.
you're both here practicing this religion
Yeah,
in spite of the doubts.
Well, I tried to go to college and try to do something else, but this was and then I was always doing plays at the same time, and it was like, well, because that's where I want to run to. I want to run into that room where the rehearsal is going on. I don't really want to run into the room where I'm learning about why would I be taking social studies in college? It was, political science or whatever it was. You know, that's the room, and it's still the room that I want to run into. And she's being coy about it, but she wants to run into it too.
So now we have our answer. You
written all over your
can't
face.
wait to get on that stage. Well, he's hanging back in the dressing room.
No, but what I do love is what we get back from the audience, apart from the work between each other, which is authentic and rare. It's not often, you know, you're used to hearing polite response. It becomes totally impolite quite early on. And it stays that way.
We have to wrap it up, but I am struck though a bit by a parallel here though. Leonard, the character you play, the writer, is jaded, is tired, and these young students in some way reignite his enthusiasm for
Well, I
writing.
might be tired, but I'm not jaded.
All right. But you, Alan Rickman, as an actor, you're saying you're maybe a little tired of the climb up Everest, but working with these young actors, does it reignite
No, I
your
won't
enthusiasm
stop
for it?
doing it. It's because it's a compulsion as well. It's just what you have to do. This is what I'm supposed to do. So I do it, but it doesn't mean to say that it doesn't get more and more difficult, unfortunately.
It wouldn't be a compulsion if it got easier, though.
No, that's true.
That is true, yeah. Theresa, before we go, I just want to call attention to the brilliant NBC series Smash, which is about the theater world you created. Since you stole your son's shameful incident and put it in the series, are you taking from all of your close theater friends all of the bad behavior that you've seen backstage and putting it into the series?
Well, I guess you'll have to watch.
Full disclosure, I'm in episode 9.
He's brilliant. And
All right,
we have to
thank
do
you
it.
for a very interesting conversation. Theresa Rebeck, whose play Seminar is on Broadway at what theater?
The Golden.
A Golden, starring Alan Rickman. Thank you for being our guest.
Pleasure, thank
Lily Rabe. dancer, actress, writer.
Thank you.
And Hamish Linklater, whose mother was the famous voice teacher. Sorry, yes.
Actor, TV star, and God knows what else as you move along through life.
All right, don't miss them all in Seminar on Broadway. Thank you all for being
He's a
here.
writer too.
Yeah.
Director too.
Writer.
Oh, writer. There you go. Okay, thank you.
So why don't you tell me what it is you're doing? Because it's not exactly drawing me in here.
What am I
What
doing?
what are you doing?
It's a referencing of Jane Austen, the first sentence of Pride and Prejudice. It's kind of a sardonic commentary.
What's so f***ing sardonic about it?
It's the narrator.
I don't give a shit about the narrator. If I can't get past the first 5 words, how am I supposed to find out enough about the narrator to care about it?
It's not a him, it's a her.
Well, see, that'd be my point. If I don't even know what gender your narrator is, you haven't really done your job, have you?
How, if you don't go past the first 5 words, how can you tell?
Listen to me, don't defend yourself. If you're defending yourself, you're not listening. I do know who your narrator is. She's an overeducated, completely inexperienced, sexually inadequate girl who's got rich parents who give her everything. She's got nothing to say, so she sits around and thinks about Jane Austen all the time. I don't give a shit about that person.
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Lowe Foundation, the Eleanor Naylor Dana Charitable Trust, the Alan S. Gordon Foundation, the CORY and Bob Donnelly Charitable Fund, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy STRELSIN Foundation, the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, and the New York State Council on the Arts, a state agency.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you and good night.